Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. As we continue with Part 29, The Faithful Shepherd, Book 5, The Written Word of Kabalism, Second Period from the Doctrine and Literature of the Kabalah, by Arthur Edward Waite. 7. The Faithful Shepherd. The Zoharistic treatise bearing this title records conversations between Simeon ben Jochai and Moses, who appeared to the great light of Kabalism and gave him many instructions and revelations. Elias took part in the conference, and the witnesses included not only Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Aaron, David, and Solomon, but God himself. This indicates that, in spite of the transcendental doctrine of Ein Sof and the two countenances, the Zohar recurs occasionally to the same anthropomorphic conceptions that are found in the Talmud. Ginsburg says, "The chief object of this portion is to show the twofold and allegorical import of the Mosaic commandments and prohibitions, as well as of the rabbinical injunctions and religious practices which obtained in the course of time." The extant excerpts from these discourses are dispersed through the Cremona edition in the following order, as seen here. As regards their authenticity, Frank classes these excerpts along with those of the Bahir, but as in that instance, so in this he gives no account of his suspicions, which may be taken, however, to follow from his conviction that much of the Zohar is really attributable to the period of Simeon ben Jochai and the disciples that came after him. In either case, the discourse of the faithful shepherd contains much that is important to our purpose. Its views on vicarious atonement and on the Messiah to come will enable us to appreciate further the value of the occult standpoint. Some of its moral teachings will illustrate its ethical position. Its references to the Shekinah will cast light on this curious feature of Kabalism, and its speculations on angels and demons will show the Zoharistic foundation for the later system of pneumatology, which was developed by Isaac de Loria. The discourse introduces two phases of vicarious atonement, the one effected through the sufferings of just men, and the other by means of the Messiah. When the righteous are afflicted by disease or other sufferings in atonement for the sins of the world, it is so ordered that all the sinners of their generation may obtain redemption. How is this demonstrated? By every member of the physical body. When all these are suffering through some evil disease, one of them is afflicted, that is, by the instrument of the leech, so that the others may recover. Which member? The arm. It is chastised by the blood being drawn from it, which ensures healing in all the other members of the body. It is in like manner with the children of the world. The members are in relation with each other, even as those of the body. When the Holy Blessed One willeth the health of the world, he afflicts a just man therein with pain and sickness and heals the rest through him. How is this shown? It is written, "But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed." Isaiah 53:5. By his stripes, as by the bruises, incisions made in bleeding the arm, are we healed? That is, recovery is ensured to us as members of one body. Here it will be said, the Kabbalah recognizes the great and fruitful doctrine of the solidarity of humanity. That is quite true. And it is one of those instances wherein Jewish theosophy has forestalled modern ideas. But if we take the illustration which it gives, we shall see that it is fantastic in character. The affliction of a diseased rabbi does not as a fact benefit his neighbor physically, and only on the most arbitrary hypothesis can we suppose that the patience with which he may suffer will reflect credit on anyone but himself. It would be barely reasonable to dispute about such a position were it not necessary to show occultists the real messages of the Kabbalah on points with which they are concerned. Now, the modern students of occult philosophy everywhere reject with disdain the doctrine of vicarious atonement. Let us pass thence to the question of messianic atonement, concerning which it is said in the vision of the faithful shepherd. This is also exemplified in the history of Job, for the Holy Blessed One, seeing that the entire foundation was sinful, and how Satan appeared to accuse them, said unto him, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth," Job 1:8, "to save his generation through him?" This may be illustrated by the parable of a shepherd who beheld a wolf approaching to rend his sheep and destroy them. What did this shepherd? Being wise, he gave unto the wolf the strongest and stoutest bellwether, even that which the flock was accustomed to follow. And while the wolf was bearing it away, the shepherd hurried with his sheep to a place of safety, and then returning, rescued the bellwether from the wolf. So does the Holy Blessed One deal with a generation. He surrenders a righteous man into the power of the accuser for the salvation of the generation through him. But when such an one is strong like Jacob, it is said, a man wrestled with him. Genesis 32:24. But he, Satan, will be unable to prevail. And in the end he will supplicate the righteous man to release him. For the righteous man, chosen by the Holy Blessed One, is too strong for the evil one and bears the most cruel afflictions willingly for the redemption of his generation. Whence also he is held as their Saviour. And the Holy Blessed One constitutes him shepherd over all the flock, to feed them in this world and to rule over them in the world to come. The clumsy and inadequate parable which thus represents the Almighty, flying from Satan as the shepherd flies from a wolf, and in accordance with which the just man is at first compared to a bellwether and afterwards to the shepherd of the flock, is something more than a literary failure. Theologians have, I believe, found some trouble in locating the accuser of Job, and it is perhaps most accurate to say with the poet that he too is God's minister. But the Zoharic commentary on Job makes him in most respects a match for the Almighty, who must have recourse to a stratagem in order to save his people. The Kabalah on the problem of evil is therefore in this place neither illuminating nor reassuring. It is in fact crass and childish. The ancient pillars of the world, the intellectual luminaries of Israel, differ, says the same disquisition, as to the nationality of Job. One affirms that he was a righteous Gentile who was chastised for the atonement of the world. At a certain time, Ar-Hamarumna met the prophet Elijah and said to him, "How is it to be understood that the righteous man suffers while the wicked one has joy of his life?" He answered, saying, "The just man of few sins receives his punishment for these in this world, and hence it is that he suffers here. But the man whose sins are many, while his good deeds are few, receives recompense for the latter in this world, and hence has the joy of life." In this instance, the Kabalah offers an explanation which, shallow though it be, is identical with that accepted by some sections of Christian theology, by which, however, it is applied more mischievously. Thus, not only the sporadic good actions of those who are wicked habitually, but all natural goodness can find their reward only in this world. The Kabalah is not disfigured by methodized enormities of this kind. There are times also in which it loses its grotesqueness for a moment, and by some not unhappy reference to Scripture, illustrates an elementary spiritual truth, as, for example, concerning the change necessary to sinners. Those who are oppressed with sin need a change of place, a change of name, and a change in their actions, even as it was said unto Abraham, "Get thee out of thy country," Genesis 12:1. Here is a change of place. "And neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham," Genesis 17:5. Here is a change of name, a change of deeds. He changed from his former evil actions to good actions. The Christian mystic might develop the significance of this quotation in connection with the new name of the Apocalypse, the new name received in confirmation, ordination, and the monastic and conventual life. Such analogies, though suggestive, are of slender value. The change mentioned in the Zohar has indeed no special mystical importance. It concerns only the initial fact of spiritual life. We have seen in the fragments of the Bahir that the scriptural history of the fall of man is disfigured rather than elucidated by Zoharic commentary. The consequences of the first sin are thus described in the faithful shepherd. "Come, see, had Adam not sinned, man would have known not the taste of death before he ascended to the superior world. But having sinned, he became acquainted with the taste of death before ascending to the world above. Through the sin of Adam, the rational spirit, Ruach, is separated from the body which remains in this world. It has to cleanse itself in the river of fire, Daniel 7:10, to receive punishment, after which it goes up to the Garden of Eden, which is above the earth, and there are prepared for it other garments of light. In conformity with the appearance of the body in the present world, it is clothed therein, and therein is its habitation forever." This passage is important because it shows that Jewish theosophy has nothing better to offer us than the old biblical instruction that sin brought death into the world and all our woes. It is not our purpose here to question that doctrine, but simply to demonstrate that the Zohar, where it is intelligible, does not improve on accepted religious instruction. Let us now select an instance from one of those portions which are more peculiarly Kabbalistic in their subject. The Zoharistic speculations on the Shekinah have an air of mystic symbolism which would be perhaps naturally wanting in commentary upon ordinary doctrinal matters. It is said that the relation of the Shekinah to the other lights of creation is like that of the soul to the body, but she for the divine manifestation is presented under a feminine aspect, stands to the Holy Blessed One as the body stands to the soul. In this, of course, there is nothing profound. The Shekinah is the vestment of the Almighty. But the discourse of the faithful shepherd adds that all are one, that is, God is one with his manifestation. This may be illustrated by the much more interesting and spiritual doctrine of the Eucharist. The bread is the vestment of Christ, the mode of his manifestation in his church. But Christ, by the hypothesis of the doctrine, is one with the veil which he assumes. It is otherwise in man, says the Zohar. His body is earth, but the soul is called reason. The one is death, the other is life. This is the ascetic notion which modern occultism has agreed to reject. But the Holy Blessed One is life, and the Shekinah also is life. Whence it is written, she meaning the Shekinah, but the scriptural reference is to wisdom, is a tree of life to them that can lay hold upon her. Proverbs 3:18. The Shekinah of Kabalism is not, however, merely the visible splendor which shone in the Holy of Holies. The faithful shepherd affirms that the Holy Blessed One is concealed in the mysteries of the Torah and is known or manifested by the commandments. For these are his Shekinah, and this is his image. This is a very beautiful spiritual and poetic conception, and it does not need the gift of the mystic to understand and appreciate it. It is one of those instances in which we feel that a depth is added to the sacred tales of Jewry. We may not at this day feel disposed to accept literally and, so to speak, physically the alleged manifestation in the temple. Here the Zohar helps us to something truer and profounder than the letter of the legend. And we acknowledge gladly that the little people of Palestine, encompassed by the idolatrous nations, had truly something of the divine in the law which was given them. The passage continues, as he is humble, so is the Shekinah humility. As he is benevolent, so is she benevolence. As he is strong, so is she the strength of all the nations of the world. As he is the truth, so is she the truth. As he is the prophet, so is she the prophetess. As he is righteous, so is she righteousness. As he is king, so is she queen. As he is wise, so is she wisdom. As he is intelligent, so is she his intelligence. As he is the crown, so is she his diadem, the diadem of glory. Therefore the masters have decided that all those whose inward part is not like unto the outward semblance shall have no admission to the house of the doctrine. As the image of the Holy Blessed One, whose interior he is, whose outward splendor is the Shekinah. He his interior internally, she his exterior externally, so that no difference subsists between her the outward and him the inward, as she is an outflow from him, and hence all difference is removed between external and internal, and as further, the inner nature of YHVH is concealed, therefore is he only named with the name of the Shekinah, Adonai. Hence the masters say, not as I am written, YHVH am I read. The connection between the Shekinah and Malkath in the light of the alleged unity of God and the vestment which conceals him suggests the identity of the divine and the universe, but it is only in the sense of immanence. The Kabalah, as we have seen many times, is in some respects the very opposite of pantheism. Our quotations must close with a few references to the pneumatology of the faithful shepherd. They concern firstly the great presence angel Metatron, who is the sole occupant of the Briatic world, as the supernal Adam is of that of Alziluth. He is the garment of Shaddai. According to some, his form is that of a boy, while others ascribe to this angel a female aspect. This shows a connection with the Shekinah, and indeed Metatron, with the difference of an added letter, signifies the cohabiting glory. There is, secondly, some information concerning Samael, or Satan, and his wife Lilith. The first was once a servant of the Holy Blessed One, and the second a maid of matron Setha. Their ultimate destruction is hinted, but meanwhile Lilith is the devastation of the world and the lash in the hands of the Holy Blessed One to strike the guilty. So she, too, is God's minister. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.